Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday wherever you are. And if you are on the West Coast or near Hawaii or in Hawaii, I hope you're safe. I hope that this earthquake that created, tsunami warnings everywhere passes quickly and with very little impact. It seems lately, I don't know about you, that there is always something weather-wise going on. And, you know, the animals and these tremendous storms of all kinds get so very frightened and scattered, just like their human counterparts. Louisa, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And oh my goodness, Anna, is it? And I can't pronounce it, but I see you from the Netherlands. Anna Dian, if you want to put in there, and I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, how I can properly. It's really quite a beautiful name. But thank you for joining. This is, as usual, a very spontaneous kind of day, as several things have already shifted around. It's like spirit chess. So, wherever you are, I hope you're safe. I hope you're grounded. I'd love to know how you're feeling today. Let's take the emotional pulse of where you are and how you feel. And please put it in the comments if you don't mind. Deanna says the pups are very off and barky. Is that because they're sensing the environmental shift? Um, I'm animals know, even if it's very, very far away. And so we can learn a lot by watching their behavior before a storm comes. They seem to know it before we do and are very wise about what to do in that. And Katerina, it's good to see you from London. Yes, yes, it's so good. Mimi's mom, very good. Um, we all are collectively going through such a journey of transformation. Anadine, okay, right? Thank you for that. Yes, that's great. I always like to pronounce people's names the best I can, and it's really, really quite beautiful. So, in the topic of healing, which is today's topic, and like hidden blocks to healing, and it's something that I think we all. I mean, who doesn't want healing, right? If you or are there people who don't want healing? Have you ever run into anybody who doesn't want a healing? And what about animals? How do they model healing for us? I know from my perspective, with the ones who come to me, the ones who came kind of emotionally fragile. Little Ollie comes to mind. I named him after Oliver Twist because he was sort of a street guy and begging for food and stayed shy his whole life, but he really came out with the other animals. And I've shared him before. I should have gotten a photo of him, but he popped right in right now. He definitely was happy and healthy and moved through his healing in such a beautiful way. And he was so afraid of people from the day I was able to get him. And over the course of his life, he learned he would allow me to touch him. I couldn't really pick him up. His body retained that kind of fight or flight. But I watched as he so beautifully relaxed and opened up, and I could put my hand out if he was near. I couldn't look at him, but I could pet him that way, and he would allow it because the one-on-one, if I looked, was just too intense. So I'm wondering, the animals. What is your experience with watching animals heal? Now, there's physical healing, there's emotional healing, and would you say one is easier to get through than the other? And then we could go on to spiritual healing. all kinds of different healing spectrums, I guess. So if you have ever felt a need for healing, or maybe you do right now, and wondering what that really means for you, I'd love to hear in the comments, if you're up to it, to telling me, give me some words healing means to you. Like if you were explaining to me, well, I've healed from, or I'm in the process of healing, what does that look like? And, I've often thought we ask for healing. We kind of, some of us beg for healing, but healing can hurt, right? Healing can really hurt. I know it can hurt physically, when we're healing, but also emotional healing has a journey, it has a cadence, it has a rhythm all of its own. And it's such a process of letting go of things, I think, and shifting our perspective, looking differently at something. And even if it's physical healing, the cells take a different perspective, don't they? Um, Anadine says healing means not being overwhelmed by certain emotions anymore. That's beautifully said. Would you say that our emotions control us and they control our perspective and our movements? Deanna said, quiet, aware, not numb. So how many of you have felt numb? I call that after a loss, after a shock, after a big transition. Uh, and Katerina says, healing feels like letting go and accepting. Can any of you describe, I love that, and hopeful, Patty says, can any of you describe what letting go feels like? Like we say it, but what does that really look like for you? I'd love to hear. And the reason is, and you're on the psychic network right here, or you wouldn't have brought up letting go. So I wanted to share that I'm starting next week, and it'll be through the month of August. Every Wednesday, I felt super guided to offer a series where I could work with each person. We could hold space as we move through the pieces of letting go, which can be, think about it, it can be a scary subject, right? It can be frightening to even think, I don't want to let go. So, this is going to be an amazing transformation. And if you're interested, there's a QR code on the screen. If you're interested, I would love to work with you, because this is something that actually will be a skill that you will use and can use in any part of your life. Any part of your life. And I mean that and I had to learn it myself, right? So through all the grief, the challenges of family and all the life challenges, I really had to be, I guess, curious, and got curious about when I was holding on, and what does letting go really mean? And Piper Lou says, I was just praying for letting go yesterday. Oh, so beautifully said. If any of you are called to it, Spirit has been giving me downloads of how we will proceed. And, oftentimes I don't know a whole lot until I sit down and it starts coming. So Spirit definitely guides every process, and is guiding us now. And the animals are leading us to that place where we can not hold our fists so tight. It's and Janet says letting go is freedom. Beautiful, beautiful. So anyway, I love that you're bringing this up, because it is, it's not, it's I'm wondering, in all this unpacking of the healing, would you say healing can feel like a betrayal? Or would you say pain becomes an identity? Katerina says, a year and a half later, I still cannot accept. That's really wisely said. So what I'm hearing, and I don't know if you've caught this in that wording, is you're making a choice, right? It's a choice not to accept. And I think that also funnels right into what I would say the number one hidden block to healing is. So let me read you some things, and then I'll get to your questions. So I've already said one. Excuse me. Healing can feel like betrayal, and I want you to just tell me which one pops out at you. I want you to use your intuition. It'll pop out sort of like it's highlighted more to you. You'll notice. So number one, healing can feel like betrayal. 2, pain becomes an identity. Healing can feel like forgetting. Power of choice comes into play. And what anger might be covering. Which of those popped out at you? And what would you say the number one block we all have? I've seen it in myself many times without realizing it. What would it be for you? Has it felt like a betrayal? Have you gotten identified with the grief and pain? Have you resisted because you feel like you'd be forgetting? Have you just decided not going to do it? Or, do you have anger and you're sticking with it? Dana says betrayal first, forgetting second. That's a big one, isn't it? It's a big reason why we hang on. Stephen says 2 years next month, code across. It still hurts. I don't want her to be forgotten, so it's hard to move on sometimes. You're never going to forget her, and that's the thing. That connection lives within you, so she can't be forgotten. And you're not actually leaving her behind, and never have. Couldn't do it if you tried. So we'll work on that as we go through today. I decided not to let go of her, Dana says. As far as letting go of her memory, letting go of, can you explain a little bit more? Yes, and Katerina, yes, the pain has become part of me now, everyday life without her. I resonate with this. I used to, and I've told this before, when Murphy passed, I brought, usually Murphy's behind me on the books, but you see this? This is Murph. These are his ashes in a book. And that was a photo that when I planted a lot of tulips, and he was out there with me, and I was taking photos of the tulips, and I turned around and he had this in his mouth. I did not, this is not a posed kind of photo. But oh my word, I grieved terribly, and it was in November. And, next year, the January, I'm still grieving terribly. And that, just like Katerina says, that pain had become part of me. And I really believe this is just me now. This is just who I am. So I understand that piece. And, the process, the letting go that happened, it took intervention from Murphy actually to do it. Thank you. That's one of my favorite pictures of him. He loved to carry things in his mouth. And when he was a puppy, I have another one of him with a clover in his mouth. It was so precious. Phyllis, lovely to see you here. It is my beloved cat Lucky's first year anniversary of her passing tomorrow. So hearing your lovely and soothing words now is very helpful. Oh, thank you so much. We all come together in this precious space of, holding each other's hearts, holding each other's pain together so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Dana says, I told her not to leave me. She communicates with me almost daily. How beautiful. How beautiful. Well, would you say then that you've let go of some pieces of the pain. And let's look at the letting go idea again. Are there degrees? Is it a once and done? Do you just wake up in the morning and I'm going to let go today? I know that's not what worked for me. It felt like it literally was now who I felt I was. Jennifer, you're never late. I'm always happy to see you. And Anodyne says, I put Zan's body's ashes in a drawer because I feel it's not her and it confuses me. Am I weird? You're not weird. Sometimes we need to put reminders away for a bit. So I would just trust that that works for you, and I wouldn't judge it. That's the piece. Just don't judge it. If it doesn't feel 100% right, then that's fine where you are. Yes, and Katerine says, no, I don't think that's weird at all. I also find it hard to think of my beautiful baby girl in that little box too. I get it. Yes, that's another point on how surreal death actually is, and so final, and how we do, if we get them cremated, then we go, and how did they end up in a box? I get it. Yes, many of us understand that piece, and it's confusing to the mind. And Deanna says, I had the hardest time spreading Dewey's ashes in one of his favorite places. I felt like I was leaving him all over again. Whew, I can feel that. I can feel that. Did it pass after you went through that? It sounds very ceremonial what you did. Did it pass? Did the intensity change? I also had in one of the day play areas for the animals, over the years, as the animals have crossed over and gotten ash, had their ashes. I looked one day in March, and I don't know what caused me to notice it, but I looked and I was like, gosh, Tami, you need to let them all go. You shouldn't be collecting all these, baby's ashes. And so I just, almost in a trance, gathered them all and went out. And at the time, Alfie, who was a little beagle, was 18 years old. And Alfie did a lot of sleeping, a lot of astral travel, in and out, in and out. And so I patted by, Alfie. He looked up, and I was like, kind of patted him and kept on and took the ashes out there. And one by one, I let them go. And then the wind started kicking up, and it took them, out. And it was just almost this moment in time where this special energetic space of allowing the ashes to fly wherever they were going. It was very touching. And tears were, I was crying because as I went through and remembered everybody, and I turned around to come back, and Alfie was wide awake, and he had come and he was watching me. Now, Alfie hadn't been wide awake in a long time. It was so beautiful, as if he were overseeing the releasing and the letting go. And Piper Lou says, I keep a blanket close by, but I either go get a tattoo to help pain, but I try to see what I can do next in memory. I buried my recent bunny. I wanted to see him one last time. There is no one right or wrong way to grieve, and however we feel so guided, it's our guidance. It's our animal's guidance to us. Oh, thank you for sharing that experience. Yes, Dana, it was so powerful, and it was so spontaneous. I mean, I passed those ashes every day, several times a day. And as I was leaving, it's a day play barn. And as I was leaving, I felt this energy, and I turned around and I looked at them, and I felt that kind of pull. So this is a good point for teaching of intuition, is pay attention to those energetic shifts, because that's your guidance. I'll be biking and I'll feel like a bear around the corner without seeing it. I'll feel the energy first. So that day, and it was just this windy, I don't know, windy March day, and it was so beautiful and so poignant. And I was so appreciative of Alfie watching. Um, so what kind of ways have you moved through healing? And Dana says, you can't stop that energetic push. When it comes, you have to go with it. How many times, though, and I know I've done this, is we ignore it and then we wish we had paid attention. I just had somebody tell me something yesterday about that. That's, and that's why, that energetic push, I literally have felt guided to offer this series, starting in August next Wednesday, to uh, help us all move through and unpack all the pieces of healing we might be hanging on to that we don't even know we are. And I know with Murphy, I acclimated to the grief. I normalized around it, but there was also a part of me thinking, am I going to be this way the rest of my life? This deep, deep sadness. And Murphy actually, that clover photo I told you about, I actually randomly, again, I felt guided, put it up on Instagram. And I don't even think I did Instagram at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Well, all day long, I looked at it and it was so super cute. I just love seeing it. So, then I think it was even March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So the next morning, I had this incredible dream. And it's probably the first time I'd had one. And I was led into a room with Murphy, adult Murphy. And he was jumping up and down like he used to when I came home from a trip, and I'm holding him and I can feel his fur, and he had a really sturdy neck. So I like hold his neck, and we had the greatest visit. And then I woke up and I felt strongly I had been with him, which I had. That was a visitation dream. But then, I'm wondering all day, well, why did that happen? Because it's been months. He died in November 2016, and we're into March, of 2017. Why did that happen? And when I finally could connect, this is what he told me. And the animals have shared this time and time again. It's because for one day, I forgot I was grieving. If you think about it, we have to work at it. We have to keep reminding ourselves, and it takes us out of the present moment. And during that time, I briefly lifted and my vibration shot up, which is where they are in spirit. And Leslie says it's been 19 days, and it's so cunning grief, because you start to feel okay, but then it hits like a train. I can't go walking because everywhere I walked, she was there. Just got over my ex, took 3.5, I'm assuming years, or I don't know if you meant months. That is the process you are in. And that train, it does feel like a train wreck, and it does feel like a hitting, something that hits you back with a force that's powerful and out of our control. The depression is wicked and crying till you can't cry anymore. Our emotions have a voice, and they're actually there to help, even though it can feel like punishment. After my mother died, I was still kind of in shock, and I was telling this to a client the other day. I was in the middle of a mall with my family and my little, children, and all of a sudden, it's exactly what happened. I felt like I was hit by a train. There wasn't anything wrong around me. Everything looked normal. And then I just lost it, just completely lost it. So we have to be patient with ourselves and understand this is a process. It's not usually a quantum leap into. And so many of us, as you've described, feel exactly. Yes, Katerina says, I know that pain. Leslie John's awful. So sorry. Yes, don't we know that together? And I don't think we get out of this lifetime without having experienced loss and going through that. But the the biggest thing is, and to get back to the questions, is what do you think the number one block is to healing? I'd love to hear it in the comments. What would you think the number one? And while you're thinking, I'm going to tell you another story. So, and I've done a YouTube, so I shared this story, but I have to tell you because, yeah. So there was somebody I know grieving the loss of her soulmate dog terribly. Like it completely incapacitated her life. Every single day she was mourning, and it was, really hard. Isn't it hard? Isn't it hard to watch somebody who's suffering and in so much pain? So, and especially for empaths, right? So several months had passed, and her vibration, her frequency still stayed in a very low place. And again, remember my story, Murphy. I get it. There's no judgment. We are where we are, right? And she sent me this video of her working with some children. And in the video, she was super happy working with the children. And it shocked me because I hadn't seen her that way in a long time. So next time I saw her, I said, "Oh, God, it was so good to see you smile. It was just, oh, I feel like your heart's healing a little bit. Thank you for sharing that." Well, her face changed. She'd been smiling. Her face changed. Her frequency got super cold and super hard. And what she said to me was, "Don't ever tell me I'm healing. Don't ever tell me I'm happy again, because I'm not." So, I understand. But what do you think I poked? What did I poke in her? It was unintentional. It was truly good to see her. What did I trigger, do you think? Because anger came out really fast, and it was kind of shocking. I understood it, but it was intense. And some of you are, as you're thinking about that, what would you say was underneath the anger? And this may be in Piper Luce's guilt. She may not being able to let go. I poked something serious, in her, and it was it had the like back off feel. Janet says guilt got triggered. So would you say that's underneath anger? So always, anytime you have an emotion, and this is good teaching, look underneath it. See if you can go underneath it. Well, what else is there? If there's anger, underneath anger might be fear. A lot of you are saying you got to the core of her blockage to healing. So what was that blockage? What was her blockage? I agree. What's the number one thing you have to have in order for any healing to occur? Number one, I listed it in that it's a and I can't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned this also while we were talking earlier. What's the number one thing you have to have in order for healing to occur? I'm reading, she felt like she was betraying her loss, guilt that she could be happy without her friend. Piper Lou says, yes, fear. Louisa, anger equals depression. Is that how you have felt with your loss? Is that how it manifests? Depression under anger, acceptance. So you're reading her energy, and you all are reading, and you're even if you don't know it, you're reading energy every day of your life, understanding where, acceptance, faith. So what did she not have that day? that she exploded in such a strange kind of way, understandable but not expected. She wasn't willing. She didn't want, and it's a control piece too. We sometimes want to heal when we want to heal, and nobody can tell us. But people can also cling to their wounds as a trophy or ego thing. I agree. Would you say that's identity with pain? This is who I am now. And would you say that's what she was doing, clinging to her wounds? Leslie says you have to be in present to be healing and facing the feelings with no judgment. And you have to actually allow them, right? How many of us shove them down? How many of us do that? And Winterberry says, understanding that they are not dead, their souls are still alive, they're healed, healthy, happy, and waiting on you to join them. And beautifully said. And their vibrations are, well, okay, so there's a lot I could unpack in your statement. Understanding that they are not dead. Consciousness can't die. They are consciousness, and that their consciousness, their spirit, just it's like shape shifting, but it's still very, very much alive. And we believe rather than know that they're right there, and we do have access. We have access through our memories. We have so much access to them. But when we are, grieving, we can't often feel that. Dana says, I'm the biggest block to my own healing, and I know it. In what way? Because that's a pretty aware statement. I'm the biggest block to my own healing. So are you making a choice not to heal? Are you comfortable with where you are? And let's talk about letting go again. Do you think, okay, so when does letting go happen? And again, is it something you do? Is it a mechanical kind of thing you do? Or do the feelings let go of us? Just curious. Leslie says, yes, they are free and alive and perfect. We are the ones in pain, which is our journey. But, we can also, through steps toward understanding where we are with things and whether we have guilt and unpacking that piece, we unravel the knot little bit by little bit. And that's what we will do in this series in August, is we will do some unraveling and unpacking very easily, and it's not difficult. And lost my friend almost 2 years ago, and I've come to terms with being half a person. I still see her in the corner of my eye, and if I go deep into meditation, I can even feel her warmth and fur. So is there a part of you that's, when you say I've come to terms with being half a person, that is, you've normalized, or you're comfortable around that, and that's how you feel you'll be the rest of your life? I'm just curious. We get a choice, right? I the other day talked to a client who was very upset about her pet, and she said, no, I can't let go. It means losing them all over again. I'm not going to do it. I'm just like, nobody's taking that from you. We don't have to let go. We make a choice, and sometimes we just don't realize it. So I prepared something, actually Spirit did this morning, that I want to take you through. So you may need a pencil, paper. You may want to track this. So Alex, I got a little quiz for you. So this is the English teacher coming out in Tami. These are, if you'll go to question 1, and quiz, what's your hidden block to healing after loss? So let's just dive in for a second. So question number 1, and I'm going to go slow so you can kind of unpack this as you're thinking. What do you think about feeling happy again? Or when you think about feeling happy again, your first thought is, A, it would feel like I'm leaving them behind. B, I'm not sure I deserve that kind of happiness. C, if I'm okay, people would think I'm over it and I'm not. That's my friend. D, I don't even want to think about it. It's too painful. Which one of those feels most true for you? And let me know in the comments. Yeah, write your A, B, C, or D as we go along, because they're pointers to something. So let me see. Yes, Dana says A. It would feel like I'm leaving them behind. And I would ask you, Dana, is that true? Is that really a true statement? I would leave them behind. Um, and stop. And it says, I'm trained as a teacher as well, and I notice your classroom techniques. Har har. What else? I choose D. Leslie Johns, I don't even want to think about it. It's too painful. We don't want to open that door. Keep that door shut. I get it. Another A. Another A. What do you feel in all these? What do you feel? Yeah, she says, no, it's not true, logically, but that may be the more emotional truth feels like you're leaving them behind, right? We can logically think something and know it, and emotionally feel it different. And Katerina says, I think A and D also, they resonate for her. Interesting. So, and Roxy says D. I don't even want to think about it. It's too painful. Does it go away if we just don't think about it? Or is it like a program that runs underneath the surface? I'm seeing B now. Piper Lou says she's in B. And then, yes, B. I'm not sure I deserve that kind of happiness. Oh, that's a big one. We're afraid to be happy again. I'm torn between B and C. I'm not sure I deserve that kind of happiness. And if I'm okay, people will think I'm over it, and I'm not. There's a lot to be said for choice, right? And what we decide means over it. Do you ever get over it, or do you just adjust and slip into the next phase or the next chapter? Roxy says, no, it doesn't go away, but it's easier to avoid at times. Agreed. For all of us who have, avoided at times. Another B, I'm not sure how I deserve that kind of happiness. And Leslie John's going, walking, and crying so deeply, and others will see me. That's my fear and pain to happiness. That's a tough one too, to be seen in that way, because it's such a private moment too. Pain is also a way to remember to hold on to their memories, and pain is sadly one of the easier ways, easy and quick. And think about, isn't that kind of what we're trained in life, to hold on to the pain? Have you seen somebody in your life model what does it look like to actually let go and to move through something? Just honestly, I think a lot of us, it's a learned kind of response. So let's move on to question 2. How do you feel when you catch yourself smiling or laughing during grief? A, guilty, like I'm betraying my loved one or pet. B, numb, I quickly shut down. C, angry or ashamed, as if I'm doing something wrong. D, sad immediately after, because the joy just doesn't last. Where do you resonate with these 4 choices? Do you quickly shut it down? You feel numb? Are you angry? You feel guilty? Sad? What do you feel? And put it in the comments if you would, because it's interesting to see as we take the pulse of where we all are, right? Where we're discovering our own emotional vibration of the moment, because our vibrations shift and change. So 100%, that's a strong commitment right there. Guilty, I'm betraying my loved one. We're so afraid to be happy. And Piper says D, sad immediately after, because the joy doesn't last. And another, mine is D. That's what I have done too is in the forgetting that I was grieving, it's like the deflation right after, right? The deflation. You get you raise for a minute and then you go back down. Um, I'm getting a lot of D's. This is resonating with a lot of people. A and D, says Janet. Oh, Jennifer, I feel happy because I feel like they are with me again. And Roxy says sad afterwards, but at the same time, hang on, a realization that healing is happening. Beautifully said, because even if you feel guilty afterwards, you're not stuck. That is actually a slight movement. It's almost like we have to be tricked into it, just like I unwittingly tricked myself and forgot I was grieving. And then I remember, oh, he's not here, and he was so special and so sweet. Another D, I think of my baby always. So this is a strong one that you're resonating with. Would you agree? Yes, that's a sad immediately. Again, even if you smiled just the tiniest little bit, a door is opening for you, whether you realize it may shut again. Your heart wall may go up, you may tighten up again, but that's okay. It's little bits at a time, and sometimes that's all we can do. Again, not a quantum leap. All right, let's do question 3. All right, which statement feels most true? A, my grief is the only thing that keeps me close to them. B, I don't know who I am without this pain. C, I'm afraid if I open my heart again, I'll be hurt all over again. D, healing feels impossible for me. All right, let me know your thoughts on this. Which statement feels most true? And I say most, and then I want to ask you, do you resonate with all the statements? Curious. So I asked for a sign while you're thinking about that, and you're putting it in the chat. Leslie says, so if I asked for a sign, and boy, did I get it. She had a winter coat that she wore, and there was a scarf on a woman's neck, the exact same pattern and color. And I'm so glad you caught that. That's so special. That's the other thing. They send signs and then it goes right over our head. We were looking for a certain one and it goes right by us. So I'm getting some answers here. So Louisa says C. I'm afraid if I open my heart again, I'll be hurt all over. C, got another C. All right. E, all of the above. Yeah, that's what I was wondering if this resonated with all of you. Like all of the statements. C, but I know that if I open my heart again, I will feel hurt again. It's inevitable. Ooh, we're guarding, right? We guard. And, it's like a slow approach road to open again can be quite scary. Yes, I noticed that there's so much compassion in our field that here our frequency raises. Yes, it does. Exactly. B and C daily, except when I work. Because you get distracted. Probably you focus your mind in another direction. And you forget about it for a minute. Leslie, yes, all the above. I feel them all at different times each day. Hi, Mary. She says D. So what are we going to do about this? Because we're all resonating with each one of these. I mean, I was right there, and when my sister passed, and I probably told this story. It was a very sudden, tragic passing, and I went through all kinds of, I thought I had healed, and I, ended up grieving my mother, my father, my sister all at once. It was like a tsunami of pain, and I sat with Snoopy every night, and she was just like Mary Poppins, and I just, rocked and rocked with her and listened to this music over and over. And then finally one day, months actually, of doing this repeatedly, it dawned on me that maybe I shouldn't listen to that music because every time it started, it triggered me. So yeah, I started identifying with all of those. So, and really, these aren't judgmental. It's just, this is honestly where I am. It's honestly what I feel. Dr. Eloin says EC is a very human response. The brain associates with something bad and we avoid it. Yes, definitely. Most definitely. Are you ready for question 4? Roxy says, take my course. No kidding. This is going to be an amazing course to go through. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to work with everybody who attends. Spirit's already giving me all these downloads. So what's your biggest fear about healing? A, that I'll forget them or dishonor their memory. B, that the love we shared will fade away. C, that I'll lose part of who I am. D, that I'll be vulnerable to more loss and heartbreak. Which one? Which ones? What are you afraid of most about healing? We need to lean toward that because that is a pointer to, it's like the hidden gems of the healing is in the choice that you make. Oh, Piper Lou, yes, I'd love for you to join. I'm feeling really strongly that Spirit is going to be guiding and addressing each one of you in this course. So it's already coming through loud and clear. So I'm getting some responses. So Katerina, A and B, and Leslie, D again, that I'll be vulnerable to more loss and heartbreak. Let me see what A was, that I'll forget them or dishonor their memory. B, that the love we shared will fade away. Do you think that's really true? The love I have for all of my animals who have passed, and sad to say, it's a lot, and I still have an aging population. I'm sure I'll have to walk that journey again. It's a sacred one, but there's not any chance that the love faded or fades. I mean, think about the number of animals that I've shared today of mine that have popped in. I'm seeing C, that I'll lose part of who I am because I identified with them so strongly. And another B. And what have I not seen? Have I not seen any? Oh, I see an A, C, and D. More like the connection will fade, not the love. The love, okay. So how do I say this? The love that I'm wanting to say, it's embedded, like the connection is embedded in the love. And that's what we think we're going to lose, but you can't. I'm seeing A and B. All right, let's go to question 5. If your loved one or pet could talk to you right now, what would you be afraid they might say about your healing? Truth-telling moment, right? A, you're forgetting me. B, you should feel guilty for moving forward. C, you're not grieving the right way. D, if you love again, you'll get hurt again. I can't wait to hear what your responses are with this. What would your pet say? You're forgetting me. You should feel guilty. You deserve it. Don't move forward. C, you're not doing it the right way. You're grieving in the wrong way. Or D, if you love again, you'll get hurt again. So Katerina is first in line here. A, do you really think your pet would tell you that you're forgetting me? And I have to raise my hand and ask you, is that a true statement? Are you really forgetting? Or are we just torturing ourselves with these statements? So I see another A. All right, gosh, a C, you're not grieving the right way. So you think your pet would tell you you're not grieving the right way? And I'd have to raise my hand again and say, well, what would your pet say is the right way? Anodyne says, I don't feel these. All right. Leslie, none of the above. They would say, we love you and it's going to be okay. And yeah, Roxy, none of the above. Har, har. And I see a D, another C, an A. All right. So if that statement is not your pet's voice, whose voice? Whose voice are these statements coming from? Just curious. And C could be one, but not in a negative way. You're not grieving the right. She would want me to focus on being happy. And has it ever, I mean, this occurred to me too, like, oh my gosh, I've been holding on all this time. And am I impacting Murphy? Am I impacting Katie? Am I impacting Emily, Bean, Evie? I mean, I've had a lot of souls move through my life and so privileged. Um, Oh, the teacher in you is spotting everything. Tami is guiding us so cleverly to feeling our pet's love. So, do you want to know what all this culmination is for? Spoiler alert. So, let's tally up after these questions. Go to the whatever's the next after the question 5, like mostly A's. Okay, mostly A's. If you had mostly A's, you got some guilt going on. You may feel like healing means forgetting or betraying your loved one pet. That hidden block is holding on to grief as proof of your love. That resonate? What about the next one? If you had mostly B's? Identity. Your pain has become part of who you are. Hidden block. Fear that healing will erase the bond or change you too much. Yes, and that sounds like us. I agree, Katerina. What about C's? Yeah, that sounds like the way we are thinking, not them. Absolutely. In question 5, that's our critical inner self. Mostly C's, judgment. You worry about how others or even yourself will interpret your healing. We're always so judgy, right, about our emotions and where we are. We've never, almost like we were never given permission to just be angry and be sad or whatever it is. Hidden block. Afraid healing means you didn't love deeply enough. Is that true though? Because that's a judgment. And what about D's? Fear of the future. Healing feels risky because it means opening your heart again. Hidden block, protecting yourself from future loss by staying in the pain. Do you think all of us have been at A, B, C, D at some point? And would you say we rove around in that? Maybe we feel one more day, dip into some judgment, dip into fear. And it's sort of like heart shapes. We're having several wafting through at the same time because grief's like that bucket of emotions. I may not have gotten A's in school, but sure in guilt. And I just have to say, and I know all of us have felt guilt. Were we taught that? And, I haven't watched animals feel terribly guilty about anything. They move through whatever emotion they have pretty quickly. And, I've watched over and over, as long as we don't hold them in the story of pain and suffering and, oh, that poor dog or that poor cat, they went through, as long as we don't keep telling the story, they're allowed to move through it too. And they're not having any hidden blocks. So, today has been this amazing kind of journey. So I'm wondering, before, our time is up, and I always hate them to let you go, but tell me what you're feeling like right now. Like, has your energy shifted slightly? Did you resonate with anything that lightens your load a little bit? Did you discover something in yourself? And, I'd love to ask you, what are you willing to release today? Can we see you again? Yes, join my course. I will be there, and I would love to have you there. And I love having all of you because without you and the animals, it wouldn't be so special. So thank you for being who you are and for bringing your hearts and bringing your open spirits. And I will be working with spirit and the animals for whoever wants to join in the workshop series, and you'll get a recording. So if you miss it, it's not a problem. If you just want to take that first class August 6th, that's fine too. Try it out. I guarantee you it will be life-changing. 100%. Thank you again. I'm so glad you're here. Lightened, lightened. I feel lightened too. I'm very blessed by your presence, and I will see you next time and hopefully see you in the